My name is Chris Holton-Jablonski, and it is my great joy and deep honor to serve you as your minister and to welcome you to another wonderful worship service with First Church. As we've been doing for a little while, this is a remix of a bunch of the content from our recent outdoor service. We're so glad to share it with you. We have lots of wonderful things happening in the life of the church, lots of exciting stuff. So do please click on those emails that we work so hard to get to you. I want to lift up a couple things before we get going today. Our podcast is live, which is very exciting. Samuel Foster has worked so hard at getting this out to us. It's such an incredible effort on his part. There's access links to that through all of the emails that we send, and also there will be on the website. You can search Sam Wise, one word, Jablonski, kind of like it sounds, I guess, but check out the emails and everything else. It's an opportunity to get to know people in the church, both staff and lay people, and all sorts of amazing stories people tell. So do please check it out. It's a fascinating listen. And then in addition, we have our online coffee hours are back for these weeks in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Those have been very sweet to see everybody again, and opportunity to meet with a couple people in little breakout rooms and just chat and get to know folks that you might not otherwise know. So do please come to those. That's 11 o'clock on Sundays. And then finally, we have small group ministry classes, which begin in January, which we're going to be signing up for in early December. So do please stay on the lookout. These will go from January through May, and a wonderful opportunity to connect with a small group of folks, usually 6 to 10 folks, and you kind of go through classes a couple times a month and have an opportunity to really go deep with folks. So do please check that out and sign up. And if you have any questions about the small group ministry, you can contact Lillian Anderson, our wonderful adult programs director, or also me, and I will then pass you off to Lillian. But any way that I can be helpful too, both with any of the things that we just talked about, but anything in general. We're very much around, very excited for things to be opening back up again. In January, we have our 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock services right here in this beautiful space. So do please check for more information on that, and we'll have a town hall to discuss the opening plans and the COVID protocols and all of that. We believe that's going to be on December 12th. So stay tuned for that. But if you have any questions about that too, you can reach out to me if you can't make it to that town hall. But do please come to that, because that'll be a wonderful opportunity to hear about all the cool stuff we have planned. And much, much more. So do please, Christmas. So Christmas is happening, and we have 2 services outside at 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Those will have lots of carols. It'll be a similar kind of service to what you're used to, most likely. That's sort of limitless attendance. So do please come to that if you can. 6 o'clock and 4 o'clock outside, and you don't need to make reservations for that. And then we have later in the night, 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock here in the sanctuary. And those services will be capped at 100 people. So we'll share a sign up for those. Those will have less singing. So if you're really looking forward to the carol singing, do please bundle up and come to the outdoor services, as that'll have a lot more congregational singing. We'll be singing Silent Night in here together, but otherwise, because we're not singing inside due to COVID, this will have less singing. So if you want to sing, I would say outside probably, but if you're really wanting to be in the space, stay up late, have a cup of coffee. Either way, we'll see you very soon, and we are enduringly deeply grateful for Ian Garvey and Simon Andrews and all of our wonderful singers and section leaders for their incredible flexibility and creativity, meeting yet another kind of odd Christmas. So please do reach out any way we can be of support. And for now, come, let us worship together.
Spirit
This is from Transcendental Etude by Adrienne Rich. No one ever told us we had to study our lives, make of our lives a study as if learning natural history, that we should start with the simple exercises first and slowly go on trying the hard ones, practicing till strength and accuracy become one with the daring leap into transcendence, take the chance of breaking down the wild arpeggio or faulting the full silence of the fugue. And in fact, we can't live like that. We take on everything at once before we've even begun to read or mark time. We're forced to begin in the midst of the hardest movement, the one already sounding as we are born. I stood in my little Zoom room and watched as they read aloud these words. Whereas all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, the town of Belmont is committed to supporting the dignity, equality, and justice for all transgender individuals. Whereas the town of Belmont recognizes as essential the need for education and awareness of the public regarding transgender lives and their experiences in order to end discrimination, prejudice, hate, and violence. The proclamation went on, but those words rang in my mind and heart. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. We are committed to supporting the dignity, equality, and justice for all. And what felt so beautiful about this and the approval of November as Transgender Awareness Month and of November 20th as Transgender Day of Remembrance was that I could feel the progress that so many of you have worked so hard for. It has been my great joy and deep honor to work as part of our Belmont LGBTQ+ Alliance, alongside so many First Church folks, chaired by our own Fran Yuan and Leslie Talmadge. Fran has been working tirelessly for decades alongside so many of you to help create a community in which those values in that proclamation are core to who we are. Dignity and equality, celebration and honoring. These are core values to our Unitarian Universalism, and where we see them squashed and impinged in this world, we mobilize, we act. And so it was a beautiful moment to hear those words spoken and town officials have the motion passed. Your Belmont LGBTQ+ Alliance just created an installation right here on the town green, right outside the church, a meditative path to walk with the names and pictures of the 45 people who died this year as a result of transphobic violence. With the help of the First Church youth, we created the installation and we opened it up for the community to come and reflect. We had 2 vigils on Wednesday and Thursday night, and people came all during the day as well. It was a beautiful thing to have. Again, I'm so grateful for the hard work which made all that possible, to Gladys Unger and her tireless creativity, to Jess Hicks, Leslie Talmadge, Fran Yuan, John Davis. Everybody worked really hard. So then just days later, after hearing that first proclamation and feeling so good about the progress that was being made, some hard news came. There was a rash of hateful graffiti in our schools, an incident of hateful speech with one of our high school sports teams, and we gathered the Alliance just a moment after celebrating progress, strategizing and refocusing for the work ahead. And I tell you that as part of this because we are, so many of us, in the midst of hard times. There have been so many challenges. But it is these hard times and how we respond to them which make us the people we are. I in no way mean to echo the anemic and somehow blaming rhetoric of God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. I actually think it's quite the opposite. So often we are given too much. This pandemic, this racism, this hatred, this diagnosis, this grief, this breakup, so often it is just too much for us to face alone. And this is one of the great gifts of community, that we do not face these challenges alone. The work before us is huge, yes, but it is not our own two hands that will build the new world. It is all of us together. At the beginning of our Vespers services, I say, welcome to this time of remembering and return. And I think this is my favorite part of this beautiful gift of worship we give to one another, this gift we create together. Together we are remembering who we want to be. Together we are telling one another stories of the world we want to build. We meet one another at the growing edge of our lives. We hold one another as we crumble into piles and puddles. And we whisper and sing together the deepest truths of our beings. We remember, and we take those impossible steps, those first steps, towards our deepest and truest selves. This is how we learn to navigate the storms. This is how we build strength and capacity, how we make it through. I keep thinking of a conversation that Samuel Foster and I had with Laura Caputo on our upcoming podcast episode. You probably have already seen, but the podcast is launched. There's 3 episodes or so up and more coming every week. Laura is one of our co-chairs of the Social Action Committee and is a mom of 2 of our youth. And we were talking about this year and the return to school and what some have been talking about as the learning loss. And what she said, which I thought was so beautiful, was that it wasn't really a learning loss. Because while our kids haven't been learning the traditional curriculum of school this last year and a half, they have been learning the almost more important lessons about how we as families, how we as communities face crisis. They've been learning, we all have been learning, about what holds us when the waves get high and we are tossed. We've all been learning about reaching out when we need help, about what truly feeds us and keeps us grounded and whole and loving and good. Michelle Herman started ballet classes at the age of 62. Her story was in a recent issue of The Sun. I commend to you all the much longer version, but here is part of her story. She writes, I cried during my first ballet class and I didn't know why. But then I didn't really know why I was there either, not really. I knew it was a good idea to get some exercise at 62 and heavier than I'd ever been in a lifetime. I felt guilty about not taking better care of myself, and at the same time, I felt guilty about caring how I looked. I continued to live in Columbus, Ohio, one of the least interesting places in the world, I insisted, because that's where my job was. And I loved being a college professor, or I had loved it. I had just returned from a sabbatical and it had jolted me awake to the many ways that the job had ceased to be a source of fulfillment. I was just feeling low, at loose ends, at a loss. If you asked me what was wrong with me, I'm not sure I could have told you. My teacher that first day was extraordinarily patient, taking us through the positions of the feet and the arms as we made our way through our first bar routine together. I'm not sure exactly when I began to cry, but it couldn't have been much more than a few minutes into the class. Filippo, my teacher, didn't say anything. At the time, I thought maybe he didn't notice, but I know better now. I'm certain he did. It was hard what I was trying to do, and nothing like what I had expected. What had I expected? Not for it to be this difficult, for sure, but I wasn't crying because it was difficult. I was crying because it was beautiful, because I loved it so much. Before I left the studio that first day, I signed up for an unlimited 1-month pass. I took a class on Saturday too, and then on Sunday and on Monday. When it is hard, Filippo said, we tend to push, but we actually need to pull back and let it flow. Keep the quality and the connection instead of using force. Slowly, over weeks and months, something was beginning to happen. Even when I couldn't remember a pattern at the bar or the rules for some specific carriage of arms, I was somehow able to do it anyway. It was as if my body knew before my mind did, and just for a moment, I felt my body and mind working as one, communicating and cooperating with each other. It didn't always go smoothly. I continued to forget combinations. I continued to trip over my feet as I danced or attempted to dance from the corner, but somehow I ceased to dread it. Somehow I had come to look forward to it as a chance to try out what I had been practicing at the bar. Once I cried not because I was moved, but because I was ashamed and frustrated as I stumbled during a pirouette, and Filippo ran up to me and put his arms around me and told me I was beautiful, that it would be fine. It just takes time, he said. And then, just over 3 months into my new life in dance, he took my hands at the end of class and said, "Michelle, you are getting so much better." And I believed him. And another class soon after, I danced from the corner along with an accountant and pianist turned physician and banker and a musician and farmer who traveled 80 miles each way to dance with us. Filippo called out, "Michelle, other arm," and I switched my arms. And Filippo called out, "Oh, Michelle, other foot," and I switched my feet too. But instead of crying, I laughed. Because I was so happy, because I had the rest of my life to get it right. Friends, these are hard times, and we are finding our way. We are stretched in so many ways, but we are not alone. This work before us is not ours only to accomplish, and when it is hard, like Filippo said, we tend to push, but we actually need to pull back and let it flow. Keep the quality and connection instead of using force. Open to this time. We are learning together how to move through crisis. We are learning who we most deeply are. We are learning the shape and form of the world we long to live in, and we will fall short and we will make mistakes. We will forget the steps sometimes, and sometimes we will remember. These are the words of Mark Nepo. I don't personally believe in an arrived state of enlightenment. I feel that being human is a constant practice of return. We have moments of clarity, and then we are confused. We have incredibly sensitive periods of being awake, and then we are numb. Being human is a very universal and very personal experience of learning how to return when we can't access what we know. So much love to you all. Amen.